Thank you very much, sir, for your great support and always being with us as helping hand.
So, with this, we start the formal scientific sections. To deliver the knowledge and years of experience with us, we are fortunate to have two prominent and eminent Ayurvedic physicians of respective fields.
Our first lecture will be delivered by Dr. Anand Lakshmi Ma'am, Professor, Department of Kriya Sariram, Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum. Ma'am has completed her BAMS from Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum in 1998 and MD in Salake from the same college in 2002 and also MD in Kriya Sariram from Government Ayurveda College, Pariyaram in 2006. Ma'am took PhD from Kerala University in 2019 and later joined as University recognized PG guide in PG Department of Kriya Sariram, Government Ayurveda College, Pariyaram. Ma'am has many honors to her credit. She is an academic council member and also board member of university since 2019. Ma'am has represented Ayurveda in many national and international platforms. Ma'am has presented more than 8 papers in various seminars, conferences and CMEs and almost 7 publications in national and international journals. Ma'am has conducted project in anemia survey among females in 2009. Ma'am has also published a book under Chaukhamba Publications on frequently asked questions in Kriya Sariram Practical. We have immense pleasure to welcome you, ma'am, and may I kindly request to start with the presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, respected DAMA Hariharshan sir, Principal Nagabhushan sir and 3D Srikumar sir, respected Murali sir, dear teachers, PG students, participants from all over India, warm good evening to all. So today my topic is Triguna reflections in body and mind. An introductory session has been given yesterday itself. So I don't think we should waste much time on the things which we already know. So I am going into the detailed aspect of the reflections in body and mind in a physiological aspect. So we all know it is an inherent tendency and it is a guna, and it is made up of all the 3 gunas we know about sattva, rajas and tamas. About this also we know about there are 3 types. There are shuddha, here it is told as sattva is termed as shuddha, rajasa, rajasam and tamasam idi. So this is what Murali sir just explained. So I don't, and yesterday also this was detailedly explained. So I just want to go to this thing. Everything in the universe consists of varying combinations of trigunas, and this is a subtle quality which is expressed from the nature into the elements. So when we say about sattva, it is pure. That is what it is meant. The very essence of sattva is that it is pure and it is lekhu and it is illuminating in its character, as per Sankhya. Whereas Raja, the main aspect of Raja is chalatva, and it is termed, when sattva is concerned, it is not having any dosha, but while raja is concerned, it is told as sadosha makhyadam. Why? Because it has got the rosha amshatva, that is told by Charaka. Coming to tamas, we know that tamas is guru. As sattva, as Murali sir just explained, it is lekhu. Tamas has an extremely opposite property, which is guru, and it has got a concealing tendency, and which will, in its aspect itself, it leads to a character of sadness, which will lead to later termed as, which in clinical condition we call this depression. So it is also dosha. Why? Because it has got the moha amshatvad, whereas rajas is having the rosha amsham, tamas is having the moha amsham. Almost everybody knows all these things. I'm just getting into the introduction. So this is termed as manasika dosha. So as yesterday was also it was discussing, they are mutually dominating, but they are supportive and productive, because when the Lakhu guna increases, Guru guna naturally decreases. So one is causing into the production of another, but it has to come and stay in a cooperative mode also, because it is not that a person is having only sattva or only rajoguna or only tamoguna. It has got a mutual domination, and this differs according to the genetics or according to their environmental aspects also. So with each other, they are more mutually dominating, supporting, productive, and cooperative. Now coming to Panchamahabhutas and Trigunas, there is a natural transition on the basis of mass. We can see that Sattva Bahulam is Agasham, that is from Lakhu, it is gradually increasing, like Rajo Bahula Vayuhu, Sattva Rajo Bahula Agnihi, Sattva Tamo Bahula Apaha. So there is this transition which is explained in the case of Panchamahabhuta. Their relationship with each other is Panchamahabhuta and Trigunas. Relationship between Trigunas and Tridoshas. Vayu is Rajo Gunamaya, whereas Pitta is Sattva Gunottara, and Kapha is Tamo Gunadikya, which is a relation which is explained in Chargadhara Samhita as well as in Bhava Prakasha also, how the Tridoshas are related to Trigunas. Coming to the Sattviga Gunas, which was, these things were explained yesterday itself. I don't want to go into the detail. I just give the features of Sattva Guna as non-violence, a tendency to sharing with others, a habit of forgiving, then honesty, right conduct, belief in a principle, true self-knowledge, intelligence, ability to memorize knowledge, then memory, steadfastness, tendency to do benevolent act without expecting results. These are some of the features of Sattva Guna, which was explained by Arya yesterday. Now Rajoguna is Dukkha Bahulada, then that is grief-stricken, then Adanashilada, wandering habit, then our cowardice, pride, habit of lying, cruelty, crookedness, egoism, pleasure-seeking nature, lust, anger, etc. And yes, of course, as per Ashtanga Hridaya, there are people with Rajoguna has the habit of talking more, that is Bahu Bhashitva. Whereas coming to Tamoguna, it is Vishaditvam, Nastikyam, which is depression, not believing in any principle, tendency to indulge in sinful acts, intellect concealment. It is not that he is not having intellect, it is intellect concealment. Then cruel mentality, ignorance, inclined to be inactive, sleepy, and laziness, of course. So if we see all these features, now we can come to a broad heading, that these headings can be put under two divisions. That is, it is broad classification. We can form any type of set classification regarding this. Intellectual classification include learning, memory, and behavioral adaptation, whereas emotional divisions classify all these feelings. So when we say about the brains, it is actually when there is an old brain, then evolutionary coming to a newer brain, and later on, which is came to be known as the neocortex. So the survival instincts are developed from the reptilian brain. Whereas mammalian brain or the limbic brain is handling all these emotions, memories, and stimulations. Whereas neocortex is concerned with the thinking, planning, and deciding. So you can see how it has got this evolutionary aspect has been described. This survival or instinctual or reptilian brain is dealing with all this fear, and those, how we had to survive, whereas the mammalian is dealing with the emotions, memory. So there is actually three parts of the brain which really which came through the path of evolution. So we came to Jnana, Buddhi, Meda, Smriti, and Dhriti, which are mentioned in Sattva. So what are these actually? These are all higher cerebral functions and higher cortical functions that refers to all the conscious mental activity with thinking, memory, reasoning, and of course language, and carrying out purposive movement.
Now coming to cerebral dominance. Cerebral dominance is related to handedness, that is, which hand we preferably use. We know that most of us are right-handed, but certain individuals.
Now coming to Vernix area, there is an area in the brain known as Vernix area, which is responsible for understanding what we have heard or what we see. So suppose somebody tells me something, how I understood that particular person has told me that. These words are interpreted in an area known as Vernix area. So the architecture of the Vernix area or the buildup of this area is responsible for a person's behavioral adaptation. Now coming to which is prefrontal lobe, which is actually in evolution, it has been built up later in the human life. So we see that prefrontal life, there is an experience simulator. It forms the center for all the higher functions. See the emotion, learning, memory, and the social behavior. So the social behavior, which we say in all these trigunas, have some connection with this development, which is developed later in the human life. The short-term memories are registered here, and it is a center for all the planned action. So this area is termed as the seat of intelligence, and it is also known as the organ of mind, and it is responsible for the personality of the individual. So there are millions and billions of neurons in our body that are developing according to our diet, according to the behavior, according to their environmental aspect. They develop and they form, they decay, and things like that. So this architectural structure is responsible for the behavioral aspect of the individual. Why I termed this as brain simulator means everybody, when they are then in pilots and all, they have to drive something, so they have a simulator in which they can exactly see how they are going to drive, and they know how it can be done. The same way, this brain simulator, what it does is, you are given a situation and it just simulates what it does. If you are given a situation, then I am going to write an exam, then it can, what if I get a pass or what if I fail? That exact conditions, it can give it to you before it is actually done. We are not doing it, but before that we get a idea of what may happen. So it is it is somewhat related to the happiness synthesis also, where there is two types of happiness involved, such as natural happiness and synthetic happiness. Synthetic happiness is what we make even when we don't get what we wanted. That is synthetic happiness, which is real and it is doable. A study has been conducted among people who have the capacity or the behavioral adaptation to have the synthetic happiness. That is, they are happy even though they don't get what they want. They have some desire, but they have not got it, yet they are happy. That is known as synthetic happiness. Whereas natural happiness is not when you are happy when you get it. So this is actually synthetic happiness is real and doable. So what the study found was these people have got more psychological immunity. That is, they are able to withstand more pain and more sufferings, and they are more adaptable to the situation. So this prefrontal lobe is enabling a person to determine whether he is belonging to this sattva group or raja group or tama group. Coming to thinking and thinking or higher reasoning, executive function, we see the prefrontal lobe functions. It is very much similar to what it is mentioned in sattva, what the functions of sattva or the attributes of sattva, like empathy is standing in the shoes of others, and understanding their if it is a corona period, then someone is not having any business, they don't have money, you actually feel the pain of what the person is going through. That is empathy. Insight of what can happen, then that is a very important portion. That is response flexibility. Some people say that I am having this type of response, and I will behave like that till my death. That is, he or she may not have this response flexibility. You are given a situation, or we are given a situation by which we can really flex or adapt with the situations, and our response can differ in different, or we can manage and make it in a different way. That is termed as response flexibility. And there is a higher control in emotions. It is not that sattva people doesn't get angry. They have angry, but they are having this emotional regulation at a higher level. And there is a body regulation also. Then coming to morality or dharma, then having an intuition, what is going to happen, insight or intuition, attuned communication, and a fear modulation. There is fear, bhayam is there, tama property may be happening, but he is able to control it, or he can adapt to it. That is what in the prefrontal architecture of the sattva individuals. So there morality can be either master morality, where it is based on power, whereas a slave morality is based on empathy and sympathy. So it is actually a feeling of what is right or what is wrong, or you can call it as a social appropriateness of doing things, or it is dependent on so many factors, like there is an ethical issue, religious aspects, environmental aspects. So it is actually a person's decision of doing what is right and what is wrong at the end of the day. So it is not that a tama person is not having any morality. It is he is not having. It is based on what platform he stands. Then while we teach this emotional aspects of the brain, or the center of the brain, which is seen as like in students level, we teach it like that. Like there is a center of a brain where we say that it has to control all this. There is hippo wearing a hat. Hippo is actually hippocampus, that is dealing with memory. Whereas hypothalamus regulates the autonomic nervous system. It actually regulates a whole lot of things. You name the bodily reflections, any body reflections, that is controlled by hypothalamus. Like hunger, there is a feeding center and a satiety center. When you are hungry, because of that feeding center getting stimulated. When the feeding center is not stimulated and the satiety center stimulated, we say no. No, how much you are given food, at one point you have to say no, I am full, now I don't want more. That is satiety center. And the thirst aspect also, in order to keep the water balance, this has to be done. And it is also acting on the emotional aspects of the brain. Then coming to amygdala, it is a part of the brain which is dealing with the, it is a, it's a very important part of the limbic system. And it is as the name suggests, it is a dry fruit aspect of the look, and it is concerned with the emotional aspects. And thalamus, it's a relay center. What does it do is, whenever there are sensation, when the indriyas are carrying the sensation and it reaches a certain at the level of thalamus, it is actually a relay center, means every sensation, so every indriya sensation except smell, that is going to relay on the thalamus. And what does thalamus do? It is actually deciphering the information. So the deciphering information can be at the level of feelings or at the level of how much that sensations are, like what type of sensations I am getting, where is this sensation, that type of physical sensations is also relayed there, and also the sensations or feelings behind the sensation. I can give you an example. Somebody is touching inappropriately, and the person who is being touched, they understand that the touch is inappropriate. How do they understand? If it is in a bus, which is a very busy part where anybody can touch anyone, but still a person understand that I am being touched inappropriately. How it is being understood? Because at the level of thalamus, the thalamus will see or decipher the feeling behind the touch. And there is a crude aspect of the brain where it is understood. So the understanding, emotional or reasoning is being done there, and then it is taken to a higher level, and we can take appropriate action, whether we want to fight with the individual or whether we want to walk away from the scene. That is all up to you, up to the center. So after reasoning, it can be decided. So how the Sattva Guna people, Rajo Guna people and Tamo Guna people are understanding it at the level of thalamus is to be understood. So we come to the limbic lobe. There is so much done by the limbic system, such as regulation of all the endocrine glands, regulation of autonomic responses like heart rate, blood pressure, regulation of food intake, circadian rhythm, sexual functions, emotional aspects, memory and motivation. So if you take the any emotions in a body, anger or any fear, it is always related to the autonomic nervous. So if it is bhaya or grief or anger or having a rage, anything, it is being reflected on its body also. So it's simultaneously the whatever connections this gunas are having with that doshas, they will be expressed as a rise of BP, as a rise of increasing the heart rate, like that. So that were connected. Even it can happen in a reverse order also, but what happens at an emotional aspect or that is actually reflected in the body also. Very, very important center which drives our, which executes with our behavioral pattern of an individual is a concept called, it's not a concept, it's actually there. It's a reward center and a punishment center which is present in the brain. A reward center is the median forebrain bundle and ventromedial nucleus in the thalamus, whereas the punishment center is present in posterior and lateral nucleus. So this is responsible for the behavioral aspect of the individual. So whenever a person is given something to be happy or he is being appreciated, so what his reward center is being stimulated. So what he does is he continues to do the act. So whereas if the person is punished, then his punishment center is activated, and he stops doing that. Whatever activity he is doing, he stops doing that. Actually, this is kept as a protective mechanism. So within the balance, the punishment is good. Actually, the punishment center should be activated. Otherwise, if a child going to touch a fire, if it is not punished by its punished by in an adequate manner by the mother, may go and touch the fire again. So if the punishment center is not stimulated, that is actually harmful to the person. So the punishment center is there and it is acts in a protective manner. But we can see that in a Rajotama dominance, this punishment center goes off balance, leading to addiction and criminal mentality. So if they abuse, this can be seen in children who are abused. Their punishment center is constantly and stimulated. So what happens is that it goes off balance and the person will continue to do what he was doing, even though he knows that it is not going to do him any good, or it is going to do him any, it may lead to dangerous things. A criminal who is doing some criminal act, it is not that he doesn't know it. He knows there are repercussions. He knows there are difficulties. He knows there will be a jail. He knows there will be a court. There will be sentencing. Everything he knows. It is not that he doesn't know. It is not that a Tamil person doesn't have a brain to think or to act. But the thing is that it often goes off balance and will lead to criminal tendencies. Though, so this is a balance. So the reward center is to be stimulated. The punishment center is to be stimulated. For a Sattva type of individuals, the reward center and punishment center is in a right manner or balanced manner, whereas in a Rajotamo individuals, in a normal aspect or within the physiological balance, it is normal only. But if it go off balance, it can lead to certain psychological issues. So, however, reward seeking may also be maladaptive, as I said earlier, and lead to risky decisions with potentially negative long-term consequences, such as unprotected sex, drug use, etc. So we can see how Dhridi and Dhibramsha are all coming like good or bad, thinking what is good, what is bad, and Dhridi Bramsha is irrelevant stimuli and having self-control. Everything comes in this aspect. So what is coming in the Rajoguna aspect individual is a theory which is known as the drive reduction theory that suggests that in a general organism, an organism seeks minimum level of stimulation, preferring peace and quiet to the states of tension and arousal. But some organisms seek risky experiences and actively pursue it. That is in their genes, or it is in their genetics, it is in their brain architecture. So you cannot do anything, you can control it by modifications, except it's possible. But if it turns it into, you make it into an aspect which is beneficial to an individual, then it will lead to a person climbing rocks or getting into adventurous aspect like bike riding, car racing, and they are getting adventurous things with it. Then it will become a career success. But if the drive reduction theory is making an individual to do things which is again off balance, then it will lead to another thing known as a criminal setting known as maybe some bank robbery or something. So this is they seek risky experience and they actively pursue it. But there is a balance by which when it's a Sattva individual, he has got a set point where he seeks for peace, mental peace, or calmness. That is his set points. Whereas for a Rajoguna person, that is not his set points. He continuously seeks the risky experiences. If it is for his benefits or if he puts them into its beneficial aspect, it may come as a career successes, career oriented individual. But again, his mental aspects or peacefulness in his life should be looked into.
Coming to the functions of a that from the picture. See this from the picture. This is looking like an almond. The hippocampus is ending in a almond-shaped structure, which is termed as amygdala.
Amygdala is dealing with anger, violence, and fear or anxiety. Now we can see that this is actually dealing with the Rajo-Tamo guna. So when the medicine is being prescribed for such, or if there is over anxiety, a medicine such as benzo is given, and it is actually acting like an alcohol, where the person gets into more eating habits or more aptitude for sex or a social behavior inappropriateness. So amygdala is actually dealing with anger. But when it goes above balance, it will lead to violence. When it is fear and it goes off balance, it leads to anxiety. So any anxiety, so all of this has got other bodily reflections also. For example, when there is excess anxiety, which is very common in Rajoguna individuals, then all dhadus are being affected because there is excess production of cortisol, leading to sleeplessness, osteoporosis, allergies, acid reflux, then ulcer, even low sperm count and atherosclerosis. So you can see almost all the systems of our body are affected. So any reflection in the mind is affecting the body. There is no doubt in that. But how much it is affected is, it is affecting all the dhadus and at the level of ojas also. Coming to the hippo wearing a hat, this is hippocampus, which is responsible for converting the short-term memory into long-term memory, and it is responsible for whatever feelings we say, that I am happy in this present situation, or I am not happy, I feel angry, or I am depressed. That you are unable to understand what you are feeling. That is because of hippocampus. So any Rajo Tamo Guna individuals constantly feeling anger or depression, their hippocampus is constantly put into a state of anger or depress. This is not having this emotional aspects only, because it has a role in spatial memory also, which is the ability to remember different locations and spatial relations between objects. Again, there is an interesting fact regarding the spatial memory. It is actually spatial memory is highly developed in males compared to females. Coming to the cognitive function, hippocampus plays a major role. That is act of knowing. Whenever we say about the important aspects of gunas, then the smriti is told as in Satoguna. So what is, if the Satoguna individual is having good smriti, then naturally it should be understood that people with Rajo and Tamo Guna are not having that much smriti, or something is interrupting with their smriti. So the smriti karana also Rajo Tamo Avarda is told. So if we can see the smriti karana, as I mentioned, is nimitta rupa grahanat, sadrishyat, saviparyat, sattva anubandhat, abhyasat, jnana yogat, punashrutat. This is sattva individuals having good memory. Naturally, rajotamo individuals, some aspects of memory interruption is happening. So it has got phases of memory, has got go through the consolidation stage, encoding stage, storage stage, and a retrieval stage. These are the types of memory which I think everybody knows, like sensory register, where information goes through a sensor. Then the short-term memory, where we have a very less amount of time. Long-term memory, which is again divided into explicit memory and implicit memory. And explicit memory is again divided into declarative, which is again divided into episodic and semantic memory. I think everybody knows, because implicit memory deals with the procedural memory, or the task by which how we ride a bike, whereas declarative memory is responsible for episodic as well as semantic memories. So what it ultimately does is, in encoding stage, we put the similar words together. So in a Sattva-guna individuals, that coding or stage of chunking the things into similar group is rather easy. Why it becomes that we can discuss. In Ayurveda, this is not after the subject. I just want to see how chunking is done in our science, because it is done beautifully by putting Madragana, Amlagana, grouping together of similar things so that it could be easily remembered. Lavana Varga, Mutra Varga, etc. And we have taken the opposites also, opposites like Lakhu, Guna. Even in the case of Sattviga, we are studying the attributes of Sattviga, Rajasa and Tamasa. There also we can understand about the Viparya, or we are dealing with the Viparya, so that we can easily understand. If a person is having anger, what is having a calmness, so that understanding at the level of, if it is opposites, that is being done at the, if it is in an opposite gunas. In Chikitsa also, we take the same aspect to memorize the opposites. See, when it comes to Abhyasa, there is Triguna variations in Abhyasa, because rehearsal of such same information again and again accelerates and potentiates the degree of transfer of short-term memory into long-term memory. That is what happens in memorizing a poem or a phrase, and why it is very responsible of our science that we have to do the Adhyayana again and again, because that will bring the chemical physiological and the anatomical structural change in the brain. So doing abhyasa, or a person with a disciplined action, if he is doing or studying the thing again and again, naturally new neuronal structures are opened up, and the information passing through it again and again will potentiate that particular memory. So that's why discipline is needed for students who are studying, because smriti is always associated with smriti is better in sattva states or in sattva predominance. So it is our information is good when our attention is focused, or the presence of mind. Information when we are emotionally interested or connected, or which fits with our previous experiences, as in spiti, or information that we rehearse, that is abhyasa. So if there is a clutter of mind, that is why it is rajo tamo avrita. Moha avrita, rajo avrita, there is clutter. We are thinking of so many things. There is bhaya associated. There is you are not able to think properly. That is, there is no non-focus. There is clutter is present, means it is difficult to memorize. It is difficult to understand. It is difficult to reason. It is difficult to come into a particular decision. So everything, whatever we see in Jnana Utpatti, that is being hampered. So memory problem in which unwanted memories cannot be put out of mind, that is known as persistence. So the function of a sensory component is actually cognition or awareness, evaluation, then development of a feeling, which is affect, and conation or the performing an action. So this is what which is told in a Triguna basis. So mind, which is involved, that is first we have to think what is to do or what not to do, and dhyaya is now hypothetical, pinpointed to a particular subject, whereas uha is reasoning behind the probabilities of logical thinking, and sankalpa is fixed determination of mind, which differs according to the Triguna basis. It's okay to the, this is a knowledge perception which goes through these stages, like indriyartha, then vichara doing it, then taking it to the level of manas, then it is up to the level of nischayatmika buddhi. So there is pre-consciousness with the immediate attention shift, with an emotional appraisal, with a cognitive reappraisal, and a metacognitive processing, which is very well explained as a Jnana Utpatti in our science. But what I want to say is that this path varies according to the individual differences. So our brain mode is often in the presence of a focus mode, and also it can go to an autopilot mode or a wandering mode. If it is in a focus mode, it is very well known that it is a sattva mode. But if it is an autopilot mode or a wandering, that is what I found to say, that is it Atanashilata really Atanashilata, or it's the Atanashilata of the mind? That should also be taken into concern, because there is a wandering attention. The person has take his attention from one place to another with the, and having a non-focus of things. So if a person is more in an autopilot mode, the study proves that it has got a chance of anxiety, depression, attention deficit, and dementia, which are all of, we can see, of rajo tamo guna improvement. So if it is even in a rest state individual, scans are taken, we can see, or it is being shown that brain is in a pretty busy networking. So when it comes to emotional sides, we have got emotions, which is immediate, feelings, which are subjective experience, and moods, which diffuse longer lasting emotional state and doesn't have an identifiable trigger. So what are feelings means, why they are important? Because they are ongoing evaluators of Sattva, Raja and Tama. So as per the Triguna state, when it is a concept, it doesn't get any value. But to bring it into a practical aspect, it has to be put into use as an ongoing evaluator. as I told earlier, it's anger. It is not a sattva individual is not having anger, because anger is a primary natural. See the word, it's a natural and a mature emotion which is experienced by virtually all humans at times, and that's something that has a functional value for survival. It is actually needed for our survival. So, to put boundaries. So any individuals, he has to put boundaries, and someone who is invading into the boundary, this anger is helping us to put the boundaries, even in the case of animals also. So this anger is actually needed for our survival. But if a person who is thinking that, okay, this anger is not good, I'm going to suppress it, so that will result in passive anger. So that is not needed. If you are angry, means that anger should be felt and should be taken into the next level. Only that the higher control should be there. So if it is not being done and if it is suppressed, it will lead to dispassion, evasiveness, defeatism, psychological manipulation, secretive behavior, and self blame. As we know, bhaya as having as anger, bhaya is also having stress related to sex or stress hormones like adrenaline, noradrenaline surge, with increased heart rate, respiratory rate, and blood pressure, with tension, headaches, migraines, and insomnia. So they are having these bodily reflections as well. Whereas tamas is a victim tendency individual, they are not willing to take their responsibility. They blame others for the situation that one has created oneself, and it is always seen that they are believing that other people are generally and fundamentally luckier and happier. So there is always a question like, why me? Gaining short-term pleasure from feeling sorry for oneself or eliciting pity from others. They find happiness, or their level of set point of well-being is built on eliciting sympathy. It is like they become their set point well-being is set in such a position that they are happy or they are content, or rather they are their predominance relate to the area where they have where they know that the others are pitying them. Then they are okay, I am okay, I am okay in that point which is set by them. So it is always that there is a natural or normal tendency of triguna going to the extremes. So it is okay to feel sad, but it is not okay to feel depressed. It is okay to feel anger, not okay to go into an aggressive stage. It is 100% okay to feel pleasure, but it is not okay to go into addiction. It is 100% okay to be fearful. It is okay, but because fear, if something is going to attack us, or corona is coming, then we have to wash our hands. And if there is a particular set point of fear, we will take action so that we don't want to contact it. So that is okay. But going to the phobia stage or not going out of the house with all these precautionary measures, also he is feeling a phobia stage, then it is not okay. So worrying is okay, but anxiety is not okay. So there is a point of normalcy going to an extreme. So it is not that sattva individual is not sad, not angry, not fearful, not worry, but thus their set points are placed which is very much lower than the rajo and tamo guna individuals. So there is always a motor part in it, in which there is an expressive somatic part, an autonomic part, which is expressed as a sympathetic and a parasympathetic pathways like heart rate, dry mouth, etc. Whereas parasympathetic is mostly deal with pleasure and grief. So the body reflections are always present. This is what yesterday Arya explained it in a very deep manner. So how these individual doshas are related to the mind. She explained it, so I'm not going to go through all this again. About sadhaka pitta also she told how it is related to the sadhaka, and also sadhaka agni, and how it is dealing with intelligence, memory, intellect, and enthusiasm. So how connected the trigunas and tridoshas are, that's what I wanted to hint to. about the kabha, about the avalambaga kabha and tarpaga kabha, and how it nurtures the indriyas, and that is very important for the jnana utpatti, and that is related to the intellect and reasoning. So coming to this the dosha aspect, there is something we have to know, that there is a psychological pain associated with certain aspects of certain emotional aspects, like when it is fear, when it is panic, a person is panic, or he is developing a enormous amount of psychological pain, and another person is trying to console, touches him or hugs him, so that develops into an attachment or a social bonding or sense of security. What really happens is there is production of brain opioids that will lead to the gating. There are several gating, but this brain opioids are touch, as we can see from Vata Chikitsa, they are bringing, as we know that how it lowers the physical pain, it lowers the mental pain or psychological pain also. The same can be explained in the terms of hormones also, like oxytocin, prolactin, that reduces the separation distress. So this Triguna individuals, I think that in Sattuguna individuals, the gating is more perfect, whereas in Rajo Tamoguna individuals, the gating may not be perfect, and the psychological pain is building beyond the limits. So as next is, we know what is Sattva, Raja, Tamoguna. Then at the end, we have to understand that where we belong. As it's about the patients or about the students, we have to know whether, how, at what path we belong to. So according to Acharya Charaga, no one and nothing is either purely sattvic or purely rajasic or purely tamasic. There are immense varieties with the Tara Tama Beda, which every one of us know. So coming to the next question is, why we have to know, why we have to understand where we belong to, because this is an important source of information and feedback that will help to direct our behavior and interactions. So it can be assessed, like if you want to assess the Shruti, then about the behavior that she does cleaning, we see that she's cleaning, then affective reaction, whether she likes to clean, then self-reports, she tells us that she likes it. Then peer report can be taken, her mother, her friend tells us that she's a neat person. Then I got the physiological measures can also be adopted, like increase in heart rate. So this is a broader view where the traits are even classified into subsectors, where Manasika Prakritis are explained in Sattva, in a broader view of Rajasa traits and broader view of Tamasa states. Now coming again to the question, like this autonomic response, can it be measured? Can the Trigunas, where the genes, molecules and cognitions at any level, can this be measured? The anger, whether I can give you an example, like there is an anger, there is neural firing, neural circuit leads to oxygenated hemoglobin with arteries dilation. This artery dilation can be measured. So by that way, can we measure the anger? You know, showing the same stimuli, how the individuals respond to these stimuli, and measuring this thing which we can actually measure. Then emotional props can be given, such as social feedback. Music is also an emotional prop. Then super sensitive facial expressions. That is also yet another way to study the Sattva, Raja, Tamo traits. We can have more authentic study also. Does the size of the person's pupil reflect an attitude? With a study on a pupillary response of pedophiles, this is a study which I took from the net, like it's a pictures of nude adult women versus girls. Their responses were compared to the pupillary response of the regular criminals. Can this be adopted, and we can put in the identification of Sattva, Raja and Tamoguna individuals? So is there any other methods, like galvanic skin response, presentation of pleasant words, increase the individual's galvanic skin response, which is greater than normal. Same response with unpleasant word, like you are giving a love, and does it increase? What is the response with an unpleasant word, such as a rape, and not with a neutral word, such as a chair? That is galvanic skin response. Can this be taken and used to study the Sattva, Rajas, Tamoguna? Because these are things which could be done or doable as per our budget. but this is little off budget thing. But you must have seen this picture from several magazines, how the emotions are affecting our body, and you can see how anger, fear, disgust are affecting the upper bodies, and happiness and love are almost covering the entire body with its beneficial effects, whereas the other contempt and things like that are affecting the individual in a negative manner. So mapping emotions are done in almost all the studies which are done in psychological institutes with advanced machines and machineries. They are doing this with basic dimension rating, similarity mapping, bodily sensation mapping, and neuroimaging meta-analysis. So according to the budget, Sattva, Raja, Tamo Guna can be done, measuring can be done as a self-report level, as a little bit more budget is there. Galvanic skin response level can be calculated, or even more budget is there, then mapping can be done. So now the question arises, yesterday somebody asked also whether this could be modified. So there is a genetic aspect and there is asthayi proportions also, but the answer is it actually can be modified, because there is an aspect of brain neurophysiology that is developed recently, which is termed as brain plasticity, because this neuronal structure which is produced at the it is somewhat related to our sattva vaisheshika bhavas, in which the what mother eats is affecting the children's behavior. This is a study which proved that the mother who had the habit of eating junk food, their children were more aggressive, or they showed more attention deficit, whereas the mother who had this habit of eating very traditional way of eating, they had no such complaints. The study had actually proven it. So the architecture could be changed at any level. The building can be remodeled. The same way the brain can be remodeled. That is termed as brain plasticity. Or that study, this is a recent development and it is gaining worldwide interest in recent years. So actually, there are some other examples also, like alcohol impairs episodic encoding, specifically for cued recall, recognition of completed word fragments. So blood alcohol concentration actually distorts the neurons in hippocampus. So that is a tamoguna leading a person with the addictions, whereas declarative memory performance improves with sleep. So there is a Trayobastamba, and how sleep is helping to get, which is what nature gives or nature provides. This tamoguna, which is in physiology, is beneficial to the individual. So tackling is to recognize, identify, challenging, and reframing. There are certain modifications which can be based on diet, based on exercise, sleep, relationship, very important. Then that what all these does, each diet can be told for an hour, exercise can be told in an hour, how it works on a rewiring structuring in the brain, how sleep leads to a rewiring structure in the brain, how good relationship leads to a revival structure and neural plasticity of brain. This can be discussed, each thing can be discussed in an hour. So I'm just giving a base modifications only. So this is a second brain, or we talk about this enteric nervous system as a second brain in our body with the Agni. The concept of yesterday Arya also went through this, where ability to transform all aspects of life, including food, experiences, memories, and sensory impressions. And functions of Agni as per Charaga include Shaurya, Bhayam, Krodham, Harsham, Moham, and Prasadam, in which we find that Agni has a capacity to digest the digest the emotions which are felt by the individual. Exercise actually protect the brain and can change the trajectory of gunas. There are immediate effects such as increase in dopamine, increase in serotonin, and even it leads to the increase in volume of the hippocampus. What does hippocampus do? It has got the cognition aspect of the brain, which is the dhriti, smriti, like, and increase the sattva effect of the sattva aspect of the individual. So modifications are of course possible. So what Murli sir told in the beginning, there is, as is the macrosome, so is the microsome, so is the macrosome. So as is an atom, so is the universe. As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. So this Triguna reflections, which is present in the universe in the form of Dinacharya, Ritucharya, it is expressing itself in our body. It is how this each and every individual is tuning themselves with the nature. That is also to be considered. As we can see in sleep, which is a very important Trayobastamba, dreams for linking and consolidation of the semantic memories. That is a physiology. Actually, it's a tamas, but it is actually needed for our brain functions. And all this we know about how it helps in our sleep. And one thing which I would like to mention or take your attention to is the central and peripheral clocks in our body. That is tuning ourselves to the clock. There is a diurnal variation or the seasonal variations, and tuning ourselves to these variations are also important to regulate or balance the trigunas. So this is termed as circadian rhythm, which is actually great works are done in this area regarding to the metabolic homeostasis, and a finding in this is about a new concept, which is known as circadian genes, in which a trait-like individual differences are phenotypic and likely involve genetic components, which it is termed as circadian genes. So habitually short sleep or circadian desynchrony conditions such as weight gain, obesity, diabetes, and hypertension leads to increased mortality also. We know how it affects the hormones. The levels of hormones peak between 2 to 4 a.m. Cortisol concentration in the circulation reaches a peak level just before waking. Everybody knows all these things. Then glucose tolerance and insulin secretion vary throughout the day. Diurnal variations, natural course of metabolism, both insulin sensitivity and insulin secretion decreases. So according to the Tridosha Triguna dominance, the body mind are attuned to the diurnal variations of circadian rhythms also. So the modifications isolated in which diet, exercise, and also on something known as the power of now. When Rajaguna individuals are concerned, they give more importance to future, or they are dwelling more on future. Whereas about the Tamoguna individuals in an autopilot mode, they go to the past. So it is important that the modifications, it is important that the presence of now should be, or the power of now should be understood. So it is very important that the present moment should be grabbed to change the future. And almost importantly, the Kalyana or the positive outlook of the individual is essential for the positive source of energy or modifications, or for concerned modification. So we say that when we say that mental and body cleanliness, or everything is clutter should not be there. It is taken rather in a conceptual level. So people who don't know about trigunas, such as this lady is very famous, and she's Mary Kondo. She's actually, she has developed a multi-million-dollar business on how to keep things clean. That is her job. When they don't know trigunas, they have taken it in such level that she's claiming that a clean atmosphere, clean environment will help you to think clean and come with high individual performances. So that is decluttering the life and brain. So Mano Shuchitva, which is told in actually body Shuchitva and environmental Shuchitva, leading to Mano Shuchitva, which is told in Sattva-guna. Which people don't know. They have developed a multi-dollar business, and we are still thinking that this is a concept. That's a contradictory statement there. So it is something that we know that Rajoguna individuals want to attain more. So their laws and intentions and desires should be put in a beneficial manner, so that the individual can attain from it, can basically do good from it, instead of ending in something which he doesn't want to, or an impulsive behavior should not make him come into a circumstances in which he find himself harmful. He himself is harming himself or to the society. So I would say whatever characteristic the individual is, the key word is balance. The predominance varies and it has got reflections in body and manas. That is important. But the key word is balance. So this is a study I did as a PhD study, development of an instrument for screening mental health based on Ayurvedic concept, which was done as a concept was done on Triguna. The Ayurvedic concept was Triguna. So one finding I found was Satya superior variety and Rajotama inferior combinations or Rajotama median combinations had good mental health. But all the Tamo superior variety with combinations of Sattva or Rajo inferior had poor mental health. Combinations of Raja superior, Tama superior and Sattva inferior also had poor mental health. All gunas in medium combinations had medium mental health. So let us transform tamas into tranquility, rajas into compassionate action, and sattva into divine altruism. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I would like to thank all the members of the Hilsa department for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your thought-provoking lecture and for covering all the aspects of Trigunas, its relation with body and mind in both Ayurvedic and modern view. And thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful quote to memorize the functions of hippocampus, that is hippo wearing a hat. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we got some queries from participants. So let's discuss it now.
Okay.
There is a question from Dr. Sibila. Question is, do the Sattva Vajra Chikitsa enough for balancing Triguna?
Only Sattva Avajaya Chikitsa.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the thing is, whatever chikitsa is being done, if it is acting on a genetic level or is it acting on a superficial asthayi level, that is to be considered. So if it is a chikitsa is meant and one sticking to that chikitsa, that is very important. It is not that we are prescribing exercise to a particular level or a time. It is important that the person sticks to that routine and do it actually. Otherwise, that chikitsa is not complete. So the thing is, the sthayi part and asthayi part has to be taken into consideration. Whether you are doing sattva avajaya chikitsa or what aspect of the sattva avajaya chikitsa is not important. It is to be understood, or it is to be made sure that the person sticks to what is administered, whatever be the chikitsa. You are giving the opposites. If you see the chala guna of Rajo Bhava is increased and you want to decrease it, give it to some, you want to increase the Sattva guna of the individual, giving him something, kindness or empathy or sympathy or giving him some social work. In America or in Western countries, now they are not thinking of putting the people in jail. What they are doing is bringing the brain chemistry is being changed so that they can go to some social work, or even some hours of social work are prescribed by which their genetic level change can be done. Or kindness can be it is proved that kindness, or for doing kind acts can actually change the genes at the can change it at the genetic level.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Next question is from Professor Dr. Kalpana Dilip from Pune. Ma'am, since you're correlating functions of brain with reflections of Trigunas, does Trigunas during evolution or at the genetic level could be correlated with tricot protein like mRNA?
I think I didn't say that it's equalizing with the function. I just mentioned that this functional aspects relates to whatever theories or whatever characteristic which is mentioned as Sattva Rajo Tamo Guna individuals, properties. But it is okay, right to say that genetic level changes can be made with the tricot protein with mRNA, because that is why I can give an example. Like if an individual is taking diets which is good for his brain, then the brain architecture is changing, means that could change the level of this protein production itself. Even in the cellular level, it can be made to change. So several diet changes or exercise changes are being made so as to increase the potential of the individual. So it is not that it is equivalent to the brain function. It is that the characters are matching with the functions of these aspects of the brain.
Thank you, madam. I am Dr. Kalpana Dilip Sathe.
Well, madam, welcome, madam.
Okay. Madam, you have discussed a very good Triguna's functions. You have discussed the brain function as a chemistry, Triguna's function as a chemistry. Okay. So I think that we should think about the Trigunas at the level of Sukshma Sharira.
Yeah.
No? So
Yes.
I ask this question. The Trigunas are not merely imaginary gunas. Okay. So yatra shitra guna karma samavayatta dravyam. We learned that.
Yes.
Therefore, these gunas are based on the dravya. We may say biological molecules, such as proteins, amino acids, pancha mahabhuta.
Yeah.
We all know that.
That's a still subtler level.
Yeah. So we all know that in the living body, a genetic makeup is of DNA and histone molecule around it.
Yeah. Yes.
The histone is nothing but the tricode makeup of made up of proteins, and a chromatin molecule form from this, and another they form another 5 proteins. Okay, so messenger RNA is one of them, and having tricode histone molecule again.
Yes.
So which is responsible for the transcription and translation of protein molecules. So the trigunas percolate in all over the body.
Yes, of course. That happens.
Yes. This is how we can understand Sattva Atma Sharira Sanyoga.
Yeah. But madam, I would like to give a part of the brain where it is in a practical aspect. If we are saying this is a messenger RNA in a single stranded RNA that corresponds to the sequence of the gene, then it is something which is thought to be at the level where modifications is possible or not. So the modifications level for synthesizing a protein, mRNA is created, and the transcription level, that is there, highly it is correct. But the thing is that we are thinking of something which could be put into practical aspect also. So the theory is more on the characters and on the neurotransmitters or at the hormonal level, where we can see the definite change, or it is being mappable, or we can map the thing. Instead of going to a subtler level where it cannot be mapped, or even higher budget things are needed to get it quantified.
Role of Sattva and Raja in sleep physiology.
Okay, I think that's it's mainly, I think Nagabhushan sir came. Can I continue with the answering?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So tamas in its normal level is essential for regular sleep, but we have actually termed sleep into 3. That is Satvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa sleep is explained also. And another when we have sleep distinction, there are several distinctions of sleeps are also given. But the thing is that the Sattva individuals are early risers, whereas the Raja individuals, they are Aniyata. And the episodic type of sleeping will be present. That is, their sleeping pattern will not be having that much of what do you call it, disciplined level of speaking. Maybe they will sleep 9 o'clock today, tomorrow they will sleep at 11 o'clock, that type. And in the they can continue sleeping or take a nap at the in the morning time also. That is that it's an aniyata, that chala property of vata is expressing itself in their sleep also. That's the important thing to remember. Then one very important thing we have to see about the sleep physiology is there is REM sleep and NREM sleep, which is absolutely necessary for our bodily functions. So this REM sleep and NREM sleep is even the cycles are very clear. And when you are getting sleeping at a particular time and getting up early means that sleep cycle are coming and their definite cycles will be done, and the person will get up with a good energy level, performance level, and individuals one type of sleep is responsible for dreams. So that is absolutely necessary for deleting the memories which are harmful or difficult to us, and consolidating our memory, and make us remember or make us forget about all the harmful experiences or stimuli that have been come. I think sir has come with this thing. So
Yes.
that way, sleep physiology, it's actually a separate topic which could be done in another session perhaps. Thank you.